Welcome to the Underground, my little underground with Peter A.
It's My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. This week on the show we have Lamark, who is the host of Lamark After Dark. Season 2 is streaming now wherever you get your podcast. And me and Lamark had a very good conversation about credentials, celebrities doing podcasting and radio and TV and all that good stuff, not being pigeonholed, and so much more. It's always good to catch up with Lamark of Lamark After Dark, and he's right here once again on My Little Underground.
My Little Underground.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about season 2 of Lamark After Dark, which I'm a huge fan of. But I want to ask you off the bat is, because I remember Lamark After Dark kind of started as like an Instagram live show you would do, and you would talk about things you wouldn't talk about on the Fresh Movement. So tell me the key difference between Lamark After Dark and your previous endeavors, be it the Fresh Movement.
I want to say the biggest difference is I just didn't give a fuck with Lamark After Dark, if I'm being honest. I like with the Fresh Movement, I kind of did that at college, shout out to WKRB. If I'm being completely honest, I wasn't going to bring Lamark After Dark back. I just was working in a platform that everyone kept asking me that I need to do something because I want to do on-air work. So for me to do on-air work, they needed to hear something that I'm doing currently. So I was like, oh, fuck, because I just ended the Fresh Movement back in Atlanta, and I didn't have anything really going currently that I was doing for myself. So I was like, maybe Lamark After Dark, because people seemed to like that when I did on Instagram Live during the pandemic, and it was cool. Season 1 was just very nasty, and I was like, I don't know if this is where I want to go. Like, I was being hit up by porn stars. It was a lot. And I was just like, I don't know if I want to go down that alley. No shade to the adult industry. I think it's some sex I feel like should be talked about more. But I just didn't want to be the sex person,
Oh,
so
yeah.
Season 2, I kind of really wanted to broadcast that, like, yeah, I can talk about sex, but like I'm more than just sex. Like I can, if you know me from the Fresh Movement, I didn't touch sex really at all. So like I kind of want to kind of blend the both of them in and kind of make it something cool.
Yeah, I think I have a similar kind of struggle with what I do, because I don't want to be pigeonholed like you. The Fresh Movement was very music focused, music based, pop culture.
Right.
You dabbled with a little pop culture, but now here it's just whatever, and it's very conversational, which is very hard to do. Because I was listening to your recent episode about heartbreak, and you were talking about like how great it is to have Chelsea as a co-host, which she's great, by the way. And you were saying how you by yourself is weird. Like you need someone to play off of, and it's very natural, and not a lot of people can do that. And I think it's really cool. But the fact that you're getting hit up by porn stars is kind of hilarious because it's like it's cool, but like you don't want to be that guy. But speaking of which, you did have somebody on your show that had an OnlyFans account. So is there any sort of endeavor or vocation that's off limits to Lamark After Dark? Or generally speaking, is anything off limits?
I don't think anything's off limits, but I mean I do edit as well. Like I do edit, produce, talk. So that's a lot. So like whatever I feel like is too much, I will just edit out. But I do like my guests to come in there and feel comfortable. I do like them to have that understanding, like this is a comfortable space. In regards to EJ, he was supposed to be on season 1, but it just didn't work out, and he requested to be on season 2, like the first episode. So I was like, sure. Like I'm a man about my word. Even though I was kind of pushing, kind of like the sex thing to the back, I was like, fuck it. Like he said he wanted to come on, as promised him season 2. So if you kind of listen to season 2, that's the only episode we kind of really go with sex. But yeah, I don't think I have any limits. I do think certain things I'm probably never gonna talk about, like as far as serious personal things with me and my family trauma. I'm just not like I'll say that for like my book or something. And I don't like to ever make somebody cry or any kind of humiliation is not really my thing. But I think everything else is fine.
It's not a gotcha show.
Yeah, no. I don't want to do that. I feel like that's whack, that's corny. No, shade to anybody that does that. I just feel like you got to make somebody comfortable. Personally, I like to butter the guests up and then ask my questions because they're more comfortable. I think people are more comfortable giving you their true authentic self when you're not trying to badger them or you're not trying to make fun of them.
Yeah, and I kind of noticed that you're kind of not censoring yourself, but you were definitely pivoting with the content direction of the show. You're not just gonna be the raunchy because to me, with especially with radio, and I haven't heard that much so much of this from podcasting. I'm over the shock jock thing, and I think the industry is too. So I'm glad that you're opening your mind to try different things and just keeping it very loose and conversation going and having different topics for each episode. So the one conversation that you had on your show that I thought was very interesting, and I can't stop thinking about is you Malcolm was on and you were talking about credentials with media, TV, radio, and podcasting. So where do you kind of stand on that currently?
Well, shout out to Malcolm. I was just talking to him. He said to tell you hi.
Oh, awesome! I
Yeah,
meant to reach out to Malcolm too because there's so many things I want to. I got to catch up on him with BQE and other things. But
yeah. I would love for us three to just sit down and talk about stuff, but that's a whole other
hell
situation.
yeah!
Yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, I just feel like I don't want to come off as a hater. Like that's let me say that first. I just feel like if you're a celebrity and you have a radio show or a podcast or you're in this field, then I just feel like be happy that you're in this field. I think sometimes they get all like my chest is bigger or ego trying to be like I think like I said Joe Budden and Nori had a whole episode about them clowning every other artist that just tried to do a podcast and they were just like oh well we kind of stand out we're kind of doing like we got and it's just like well, we went to school for this like we really work hard for this and it kind of sucks when people that kind of just have a celebrity name kind of get further than us because of their credentials. So just be happy that you're in the room. And I would like for the future, maybe we can mix it up. Like if you're gonna have a celebrity, like let's have a person who actually studied the craft in there as well, not just them being the host, but co-hosting. Like it could be a kind of a joint thing. I kind of hate that if for some reason these big names like to just have celebrities kind of fill up their roster just to get the views, but it's no longevity because they don't know what they're doing because they didn't like that's not their craft. So
Yeah, so your issue is more so like people who already have name value and they come into this medium and they kind of they take it for granted
yeah,
and they just kind of just using it to kind of put themselves on a pedestal and not actually try to make something, innovative, not innovative, but just something interesting that people can, take in.
right.
Yeah.
Like I made a little rap song. That's like me making a rap song. It's selling out, and then me being like, "I'm better than all of you." But it's like, bitch, you don't rap. Like, so just let me just be happy that my song made a chart. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, because yeah, like to me with like credentials in general is that the best credential for this is just experience and trying it out. Because none of us would be here if like, a WKRB didn't let us voice our opinions and Alyssa and Rob like not allowing us to make mistakes and really screw up and to learn from it. And I definitely give Alyssa a lot of credit for that because there's a lot of times she'll be like, "Oh, you said this thing," and even and I listen to her and I take criticism. And when I got into the industry professionally, my program director will call me while I'm on the air. I was like, "Peter, I like what you said, but like you could have said it quicker or whatever." And I love that. So your credentials are your experiences. That's really it. But yeah, it's very interesting. I think a lot of people that are getting into the media space and trying to make a podcast or just trying to work in the industry, I think they should listen to your episode because it's kind of eye opening. It's cool.
I appreciate that. I'm so sorry for my dog. And my dog,
it's cool.
I apologize for your listeners. I feel like you're cool, but your listeners may attack me. So
Listen, I live right by a highway, so
okay.
it's not really background noise is a thing on my little underground.
Okay.
So it doesn't really matter.
Cool.
So another thing about your show that I find fascinating is Lamarck's Corner. So are you surprised with the amount of audience interaction with the show? Because you're taking questions from the listeners, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm not really surprised. I'm surprised that some of the questions go so low left. Like sometimes they come from me, and I don't. I'm all for entertainment if it's on the show, But I really get a question a lot is like, can I come on the show? And it's just like I don't. But why? No one gives me the why. Like you can't just come on the show and just like sit there and me ask you questions about. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make sense. That's like me going to your job and just saying, "Hey, can I start doing stuff?" Like that doesn't make sense. So I get that question a lot, but I do like to help people, and I do like that people are interactive with that. So it's cool. I wouldn't say surprised. I mean, humbledly, yes, but I appreciate the love.
How much per episode? Like, how much
Mhm.
questions do you get submitted for Lamarck's Corner?
Probably like five. Probably like five. But I also have a lot of questions from the fresh movement that I just haven't used. So I kind of just recycle some of those as well.
That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If it generates a conversation,
Yeah.
it's fine. Do you like for Lamarck's Corner? And not well, actually, Lamarck After Dark. Just generally
Mm-hmm.
speaking.
There's so many Lamarck shit. I understand. It's a
Yeah,
lot. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Are you and Chelsea like having like mini production meetings before? Do you guys discuss what's going to be talked about, or do you got is it more like a free flowing thing? Like you hit record and then whatever happens happens.
No, we usually have like a rundown. We usually have a situation on like what that episode's going to be. We usually kind of talk beforehand to kind of just make sure there's no situations. I mean, I know sometimes the episodes sound like we're just like ha ha ha, but it is a lot of things. A lot of structure that goes to it. Excuse me. But yeah, it's probably takes about 2 hours maybe to structure a good show. Um, I think the only show that we just said like balls to the wall was probably the birthday show because it had a lot of people on it, so we just said it is what it is. But I think everything else we kind of structure it because we don't want to sound dumb, we don't want to sound like we don't know what we're talking about, and we don't want to sound like we're amateurs. I think that it's cool to kind of do a podcast and not really know what you're doing if you're just starting out. But I do feel like sometimes I have an obligation to people that listen to me to kind of produce really good quality content. So I really take that to heart when I'm producing a show.
I think about the first few episodes of My Little Underground and the first few episodes of the Wrestling Caucus, and I cringe a little bit because I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Why did we say that? We could have wrapped this up earlier. But then there's the power of editing. But yeah, I think it's very important to really think about what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, and make sure you know what you're talking about, and so you sound professional. Because again, your show, from what you've been telling me, it's almost like an air check. Like you want
Yeah,
the industry to hear this, but to that end, when you're listening to the show, because with air checks, you have to find your best, your absolute best stuff. So how do you go about, picking some of your best material to show to someone in the industry, to wherever part of it you're gonna wind up being?
that is a very interesting slash difficult question. Um, it's difficult because I feel like everybody is different, and my boss actually recently wanted to hear the show, but he was like, what's your best episode?" And I was like, I really don't know. Like, what do you? I kind of like to ask somebody what do they relate to the most. So like if you have heartbreak, that's fine. If you like to just talk to shit, that's fine. Like I feel like it depends on the person. Because I feel like if you're relating to something more pop culture esque or you're relating to something more personal, then I'm gonna give you an episode that can kind of relate more to you than to what I think that you would like, if that makes sense. Um but I do would like to one day maybe sit down and like make a whole reel or website, something like that. But that's going to be a very difficult situation to do because it's a lot of things I will have to go through the vault and see. So that's a good question.
Yeah. And another thing you were talking about on the show, very briefly, almost like a burnout, because
Mhm.
there was a couple of weeks you didn't do an episode, and you came on like, we didn't. You have your life to live. So
Yeah,
how do you kind of manage that? Like, how do you know? Okay, do you have a solid cadence for recording episodes, and um, do you feel when you're not putting out an episode, like you feel like, oh, we should be doing something?
yes and no. I feel like at the end of the day, I did the freshman for 5 to 6 years, and as much as I loved it, I do feel like the support it was there, but it wasn't there. If that makes sense. Like I do feel like a lot of people gravitated to it, but I did want it to blow up in more higher heights. If that makes sense. So I think this is a balance of producing good content, but also putting yourself first at certain times. Like if an episode doesn't come out because my computer crashed, something happened, then it's out of my control. But I do try to let people know that maybe you missed an episode or something else happened, or we're human. And I don't ever feel. I used to feel like sometimes like, I gotta make sure this episode's. I gotta make sure this and that. But it's like, I mean, it is what it is. The universe has a plan. If it comes out, when it comes out, comes out. Just like Beyonce's visuals. Like that's what I use now. Like Beyonce doesn't have her visuals out, so when things don't come out, be like, oh, blame Beyonce.
Yeah, and she doesn't have an album every year.
Yeah, so look, man, it's hard. Yeah, and I feel like people don't understand. Like we literally are sitting here talking about sometimes things that we know about, but our personal experiences, and that could be a lot. Like a lot of people I'm learning aren't really comfortable just talking about stuff that they don't really know about. So I feel like we don't get enough credit sometimes. I think people just think that we get on the mic and just talk. That they don't realize the production, the meetings, the scheduling interviews, the long hours of editing. I know for me personally, I listen to the show 3 times. Like when I'm doing it, editing, and then like post. Like it's a lot. And sometimes a lot of that stuff is free work. Like we have to pay some software and microphones and engineering. Like it's so much that goes into it. And I feel like we don't people just think, oh, it's out, or if it's late, it's like, oh, that bitch, they don't work hard enough. It's like you don't see half of the hard work that we put into it. But I guess that's just life.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
and it's really just it's effort.
Yeah.
If you really want to do this like consistently, and you feel like you have something to say, and you can articulate it very well consistently, then I think it's worth it's worth like all the free work, like you're saying, all the free labor. But to me, when I do this, and I do 2 podcasts, it's a lot of work. But I don't think of it that way because I love what I'm doing, and it's
Right.
just it's very freeing. It's how I decompress from the pains of the real world, as it were. But yeah, when I'm listening to your show, it's it's entertaining, and two, it's like, okay, it kind of like motivates me to get behind the microphone and really just make sure that my shows are quality. Because I remember I was a guest on Malcolm's old podcast, Fully Loaded, and I was like, sometimes I felt like, oh my god, I'm not prepared for this, because these two are so great at just generating conversation from the thin air. But I don't know what goes on behind, like what you know what I mean? Because and it made me think I need to work hard. I need to make sure like the quality is important for my own shows.
Nah, man, your quality is definitely dope. I think you are phenomenal.
Thanks. So are you. So yeah.
I think that a lot of people that I don't really, in this podcast, radio, whatever call it game, I really like admire. But you're definitely in that group for me, per se. So.
Yeah, you and Malcolm, you guys make magic. I wish there was another Issa Rae show that Malcolm could talk about. So I could
right. Yeah. Well, he's working. He's definitely working on BQE season 2.
Yeah. Like that. Oh my god! I know you were. You made a cameo on it, which was really cool.
Yeah.
When I heard your cameo, I texted Malcolm like, "Oh my god! Like that was so cool how you integrated Lamark in that. It was awesome." So when it comes to like Lamarck's Corner, again, going back to that, some of it is advice. Not all of it, but some of it is advice. Now, do you feel like, going back to credentials, do you feel like you need, or did anybody tell you what makes you think that you can give advice like that? Like, what are your credentials?
I've actually got some questions like that. They're like, well, bitch, if you're single, how are you going to give relationship advice? I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was like, at the end of the day, one, they have a point. They do have a point. But 2, at the end of the day, these questions are being sent in to me. So at the end of the day, somebody wants my opinion on those questions. It's one thing if I'm just sitting here like, oh, maybe I should talk about this. But someone asks those questions. They ask me for those questions. So, I'm just giving my little 10 cents to the world. But I do feel like a lot of the world that I've experienced, I can kind of, speak on that. Like, I may be single, but I've had relationship situations. I've had, a lot of trauma situations. I've had life situations. I'm Black, gay. Like, it's a lot that I can, really give to the world that I've been through. But yeah, I've gotten those questions. And I feel like they are half right, because I've never been married. I've never been divorced. I've never had those kind of situations. So if it's someone who's married asking those questions, I can only give my insight to the best of my ability. But I'm also the kind of person who is will bring an expert on the show and kind of have them talk about that. So it's a catch-22. But for those people that will ask me those questions like you're not qualified, bitch, just don't watch the show. It's not that serious. It's
Yeah.
just a fun little show. Don't. It's not that deep.
Yeah, and then life will, probably contradict,
Yeah,
whatever.
man.
Things. Listen, if you're in a relationship, any relationship, you're qualified to give advice on that and talk about your experiences.
Right.
It may not be the right answer, but also you should be able to think for yourself. You should be able to have many sources of information. Like if somebody
Right.
tells you one thing, it doesn't mean that's the be all end all. Like Lamarck or Peter's opinion is not take it with a grain of salt. That's all.
This is not CNN. Like,
No.
yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, even CNN. You
Yeah.
guys watch CNN too. So as far as Lamarck After Dark is concerned, about eventually, if you're gonna try to make Lamarck After Dark this kind of show, are you open to like reading ads or getting endorsements for certain products, or do you feel like you want to generate revenue independently?
I mean, I would like to do it independently, but I wouldn't mind sponsors. I know we had a Manscaped sponsor, but it went a little left. Shout out to Manscaped, but it just didn't work out. And then we had a sex toy sponsor, but that just was too much. So I was like, you know what? Whatever happens, just independently is fine. I think that the situation I'm in, I'm able to get studio space that is good in my surroundings, my budget, everything works out. And I think that when things work out organically, the universe is just telling me to keep pushing. So I would like sponsors, but I'm not gonna sit here and you know, beg for them if that makes sense.
Yeah.
At least not yet. At least not yet.
So what season 2 of this show, it's on and popping right now. How many episodes do you plan on doing this season? And are you already thinking about season 3?
I would like to do at least 20.
Okay.
I feel like 20 is cute. Because last season I did like 7. And people really wanted more. So I was like, okay, 20 is cute. I'm really actually excited because I don't know when this will air. But
It's gonna air let's see, it's Wednesday. I got a show coming out Saturday, so next Saturday, yeah, like July 22nd. Okay. Yep.
So by that time, I did an interview with Maxwell, and that's coming out
Whoa.
Friday. Yeah. So it was really cool to talk about him, about the whole Z100 and just stuff like that. And I feel like those stuff like that really pushes me to keep pushing and keep going. So yeah, man, I'd like to have for every season to have somebody that I can really relate to or like a role model. So for Maxwell, for me, is that. But I think it might be 20. I know we have a conservative coming on maybe, and he wants to talk about, but I don't know yet. I'm still debating because I'm very for your choices pro, like whatever you want to do with your life, as long as it's not affecting me, or if you're not being a dick, I'm cool with it. But he has a lot of views on gays and abortion and stuff like that, and I feel like that would be good for the show, but I don't know if it'd be good for my mental, and that's something that I'm trying to deal with right now because life can be so difficult. So why make it harder? But I also feel like that could be helping someone who's still confused about certain aspects, because I do feel like you could be a liberal but have conservative thoughts about certain things. So I don't know. I might just do it and just see how it flows. Because I can always just cut it, if it goes bad.
Exactly. You're steering the ship. And as far as like having a conservative on, depending on what their views are, some of their views can be different from yours. Like somebody can have a different opinion, but if you're saying if you have thoughts on something, that thought can be harmful to someone. You know what I mean? Like it's different from saying, well, I like Beyonce, or I prefer listening to Solange, or I prefer listening to Destiny's Child. That's different from someone saying, well, your existence is
it's bullshit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that must be very, very difficult for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to take my emotions out of it.
Yeah,
and I feel like that
I don't
will
know if I'll be
be
able to do that, but kudos.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see how that works.
Yeah.
And But I'm excited for the Maxwell interview to come out. But that will be out by the time this is out. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to get your opinions on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as Maxwell is concerned, right, with artists, because I talk to artists a lot on the show, and do you find it very challenging, or rather difficult to book artists?
Absolutely. Oh no, wait. I'm not Maxwell the singer. Maxwell the guy from Z100. I'm sorry.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't,
that's fine. You can tell,
yeah,
like, people in the
yeah.
industry, artists. Yeah, I really
Oh,
thought you meant the singer.
yeah. Someone else did too. I was like, I gotta clarify that because.
Yeah.
But shout out to Maxwell, both of them.
Okay, that's cool. I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah, but yeah, people, especially when they want to see stats, they want to see how much revenue you're bringing in. They want to see, well, how does this benefit me? I've got that. I've gotten, how does this benefit me? I've gotten my charge is $500. I've gotten, I don't know if you're big enough to even have me on your show.
Yep, I've gotten,
Yeah.
what's your budget? I'm like, it's a podcast. I'm not a
Yeah.
promoter. So I'm like, no, thank you.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I never paid for a guest.
No,
So
I'll never do that. Don't ever do that.
yeah.
People listening, don't ever do that. It's stupid.
Yeah, but some people, to like the celebrities that have their podcasts, they pay for guests. So hey, whatever floats your boat. I'm just not paying for that, at least at this moment in my life. So.
Right. Gotcha. All right, Lamark, I appreciate you coming on to talk about Lamark After Dark. Please tell people where to follow you and how to listen to the show.
Yes, man, of course. Lamark After Dark is available on all social media platforms, anywhere you can listen to podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, I believe TuneIn. We also have the YouTube version. I don't know if I want to keep doing the YouTube version because I feel like people really seem to like listen to the audio than the YouTube. But I don't know. But it's available on YouTube as well.
I mean, I'm biased. I'm an audio guy, so yeah.
But a lot of people are. A lot of people I feel like in the industry are more audio, but I feel like the people that don't really get it are more video.
Yeah.
But then they get like tuned out quickly because it's not, people attention span is so short nowadays. But yeah, in a grand scheme of things, that's where you can find me. And and Lamark_fresh on all social media platforms.
All right. Thank you so much, Lamark. Next time we have to get Chelsea on. I would love to talk to both of you.
Yeah, man, definitely. I know she's working right now, but I would definitely link her in the next time. And thank you for reaching out and just, being so dope. I really appreciate, you having me on your platform. And definitely please keep pushing, keep doing your podcast. I think they're great. I think it's what's needed in this world right now. And you know how much of a star you are.
My little underground.